This is a sub-article to Muhammad before Medina and Muhammad in Medina. Following the migration and return of the most Sahabas from the first migration to Abyssinia, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and some did not return but left Abyssinia by sea for preaching overseas to East Asia. 1. The Muslims continued to suffer persecution by the Meccans. 2. This time, in 6 BH, 615 CE, almost 100 Muslims made a second migration back to Abyssinia where they stayed protected. 3. After the Muslims in Arabia had migrated to Medina in AH 7, 628-629, 3, and attained security, the Muslims in Ethiopia migrated back to Arabia and reunited with them in Medina, 2, after 6 years' absence. History. Following the first migration to Abyssinia, the Meccan polytheists were on the alert for a second migration, however they were not able to stop the Muslims' escape. Second migration. The second migration took place in 615 c. 4. The group of emigrants this time comprised 83 men and 18 to 19 women. Delegation from Mecca. The Meccan polytheists did not appreciate that the Muslim had found a refuge, so they equipped Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'a with valuable gifts and sent them to the court of Aksum. They became successful in winning some of the courtiers over to their side and argued that the king should expel the Muslims back to Mecca and made over to them, on the grounds that they had apostated and preached a religion alien to both the Meccan religion and Christianity, the official Aksumite religion. 2. First meeting. The king of Abyssinia, Ashama ibn Ajbar in the Muslim tradition, Elysium and variants in the Ethiopian, summoned the Muslims to the court and asked them to explain the teachings of their religion. The Muslim emigrants had decided to tell the whole truth whatever the consequences were. Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, the son of Abu Talib ibn Abd al-Muttalib, the powerful Banu Hashim leader, stood up and addressed the king in the following words. O king! We were plunged in the depth of ignorance and barbarism, we adored idols, we lived in unchastity, we ate the dead bodies, and we spoke abominations, we disregarded every feeling of humanity, and the duties of hospitality and neighborhood were neglected. We knew no law but that of the strong, when God, Arabic, Allah, raised among us a man, of whose birth, truthfulness, honesty, and purity we were aware, and he called to the oneness of God, and taught us not to associate anything with him. He forbade us the worship of idols, and he enjoined us to speak the truth, to be faithful to our trusts, to be merciful and to regard the rights of the neighbors and kith and kin. He forbade us to speak evil of women, or to eat the substance of orphans. He ordered us to fly from the vices, and to abstain from evil, to offer prayers, to render alms, and to observe fast. We have believed in him, we have accepted his teachings and his injunctions to worship God, and not to associate anything with him, and we have allowed what he has allowed, and prohibited what he has prohibited. For this reason, our people have risen against us, have persecuted us in order to make us forsake the worship of God and return to the worship of idols and other abominations. They have tortured and injured us, until finding no safety among them, we have come to your country, and hope you will protect us from oppression. Ashama was impressed by the speech and asked for some of God's revelations. Ja'far recited the opening verses of Surah Maryam. The chapter is about the birth of John and Jesus, and Mary having been fed with the food miraculously. The story moved to tears the bishops and king who exclaimed, "It seems as if these words and those which were revealed to Jesus are the rays of the light which have radiated from the same source." Turning to the crestfallen envoys of Quraysh, he said, "I am afraid, I cannot give you back these refugees. They are free to live and worship in my realm as they please." Second meeting. Edit. The following day, the Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'a went to the king and said that Muhammad and his followers blasphemed Jesus. Ja'far again stood up and replied, "We speak about Jesus as we have been taught by our prophet, that is, he is the servant of Allah, his messenger, his spirit and his word breathed into Virgin Mary." The king replied, "Even so do we believe. Blessed be you, and blessed be your master." The king turned to the two frowning Meccan envoys and to his bishops who got angry. He said, "You may fret and fume as you like, but Jesus is nothing more than what Ja'far has said about him." The king assured the Muslims full protection and returned the gifts to the envoys of Quraysh and sent them away. Return to Arabia. The Muslims lived in Abyssinia, Ethiopia, unmolested for a number of years. During this period were the Muslims in Arabia subjected to the Meccan boycott of the Hashemites, 617, the year of sorrow, 619, Muhammad's visit to Taif, 620, the Isra and Miraj, 621, and finally the migration to Medina, 622. 2. The Muslims in Ethiopia would not return to Arabia and reunited with their fellow Muslims in Medina until in AH 7, 628/629. The emigrants returned to Arabia in 3 groups. This first return was in the period of the boycott of the Hashemites, i.e. between September 616 and April 619. 33 men and 6 women plus children heard that the Meccans had accepted Islam and they set out for the homeland. But when they got near Mecca they learned that the report was false, so that they entered the town under the protection of a citizen or by stealth. The second return was after the Battle of Badr, i.e. March 624, but before Khaybar, May, July 628. 28 men and 3 women plus children returned to Medina. As there is no record of a large group return, it is probable that each family traveled separately and at different times. The third return consisted of all the Muslims who were still living in Abyssinia, 17 men, 7 women and 7 children. The Negus sent them to Medina in 2 boats, presumably at his own expense, in June or July 628, 526-529 Ibn Ishaq records that 1 woman and 3 of her children died on the return journey from drinking foul water. Ibn Ishaq also names 7 men and 3 women who died in Abyssinia. Abu Bakr wished to spare Aisha the discomforts of a journey to Ethiopia and tried to bring forward her marriage to Mut'im's son. Mut'im refused because Abu Bakr had converted to Islam, citation needed. Muhammad married the newly widowed Ramla bint Abu Sufyan by proxy while she was still in Abyssinia.